Thank you all for joining. My name is Ibrahima Soare, Senior Community Development Officer with LISC New York City. Thank you for joining our first series of small business learning sessions for 2022. For today's session, we have an esteemed guest member from our Chase for Business partner. Before we begin, know that there are a number of folks that may be joining that may not necessarily be aware of LISC. LISC is a national nonprofit organization that focuses on providing capital, strategy, and technical assistance to places where low and moderate income people can be able to thrive. LISC as well is a community development financial institution. We're founded in 1980, and over the past more than 40 years, there are nearly 40 different local offices spread across the nation. The programmatic areas that we focus on is to be able to create an equitable, inclusive, and sustainable workplace. New York City is where LISC's headquarters is located, and the LISC New York City field office is flagship. LISC New York City believes that the time has come to forge a future for New York City that eradicates the racial wealth gap for good, protects affordable housing for low and moderate income New Yorkers, and builds pathways for meaningful economic opportunity for all. Since April 2020, and the ushering in of our new executive director, we've adopted these three platforms. One, radical healing. For us, being able to examine and address the underlying assumptions that perpetuate biases and bigotry. How do we do this? One, through legislative and public policy advocacy, and also being engaged with cultural institutions throughout the New York City area. Secondly, is focusing on inclusive economic transformation. And we do this by prioritizing in these areas related to public infrastructure, human talent, innovation, focusing on supporting diverse small businesses, and of course, impacting community organizations at large. And lastly, third, sustainable wealth generation, which is focused on exploring and implementing programs that support entrepreneurship, ownership, career ladders opportunities, and financial mobility and wealth building in communities of color. This next slide here covers what our priority areas are. For LISC, we believe that it is time to be able to catalyze the economic systems that supports both BIPOC-owned small businesses and the communities to overcome the systemic barriers and build sustainable wealth. So these priorities areas include affordable housing, economic development, health equity, workforce development and financial mobility, and also capacity building. In each of these programmatic areas, we have specific initiatives and programs that are focused, again, on eradicating racial wealth gap. For today's learning session, we have our esteemed guest here, Ms. Jumoke Joy Fagbaye Butts, who is the Vice President and Senior Business Consultant with Chase Minority Entrepreneurs Initiative. So today's topic, it'll focus on Business 201, building a foundation that lasts. The Chase for Business session today will focus on components of entrepreneurs who are seeking to build a lasting business foundation. During today's session, Ms. Jumoke will be covering how do you think like an entrepreneur? How do you develop the agility and remain resilient? And also we'll be covering some business fundamentals that you all can be able to take away and hopefully implement within your strategies. With that being said, a few housekeeping rules before we begin the presentation. We'll set time by the end of the presentation for folks to be able to submit their questions and have them addressed by our presenter. We ask that everyone remain muted. And lastly, this session is being recorded, and a copy of the presentation, along with access to today's workbook session, will be provided afterwards. That being said, Jumoke, let me know when you are ready to be able to share your screen.
Wonderful. So thank you so very much, Ibrahima. I'm definitely ready. I was trying to turn my video on, but for some reason it was not working.
You should be able to turn it on now. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Ah, fantastic. Thank you so very much. And thank you so much for that introduction. Definitely excited to be here and to be partnering and working on this with LISC. And so glad to have you all here as well to participate and really take the time to dig in to what are some things that you can do to enhance your business. So two things I'm going to say. The virtual world is fantastic. You can get so much done, which is great. But then on the flip side, you sort of miss some of those interactions. But it's okay. I know that at the end we'll be able to get an opportunity to have more interactions, ask some questions. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But I definitely give everyone here kudos for taking the time to be here. So I'm going to share my screen and we're just going to get right into it. So as Ibrahima had mentioned, we're going to be talking about your next level business, which we call Business 201 or building a foundation that lasts. And just to give you a little bit more background on myself, I'm a senior business consultant with JP Morgan Chase. I work one-on-one with business owners that have anywhere from 100,000 to 2 million in revenue. Couple of years in business, are minority women or veteran owned, but really working one-on-one to help you to scale. So taking your business from point A to point B. So if that's something that you're interested in getting some more information on, I work on a team. So there's more than just myself, which is great, but I work on a team. So if you're interested in finding out more information on how you can avail yourself of that, please don't hesitate to reach out. And talked a little bit about myself. So a little bit about Chase for Business. So Chase for Business, most people are familiar with, but outside of the basics of the checking account and things like that, we offer, of course, information, advice, tools, and resources. We have a wealth of information and wealth of resources on our websites. And I'll get into that as we continue on. So let's dig into the content. This quote I absolutely love, and I'm so glad that we decided to put this in the beginning. And it's a quote from a book that Damon John wrote, Power Shift, which says, "Once I found my why, I was good to go. Each time out, the moment I understood what I was doing and why I was doing it was the moment I was finally able to make something happen." And that is so very true. We really need to understand and have a clear perspective and a clear vision as to why am I here? Why did I decide to start this business? Why am I doing what it is that I'm doing? Because without that why, it's really hard to make inroads. And sometimes I've seen businesses where they sort of get lost, they're caught up in, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, this opportunity came. But when you focus on your why, not only does it help you to focus within your business, but even during those tough times, which we're going to get into as to how to overcome that. But even as you go into those tough times, it's something that you can hold on to say, you know what, I'm going to stick in, I'm going to continue to push on because of my why. And it has to be a why that only you can state. No one else can state that why for you. So I encourage each and every one of you, if you don't have your why yet, to really crystallize it. Or if you have multiple whys, again, to really crystallize that why, because it'll help you as you continue to grow. So typically what I would do is I would love to hear some comments surrounding what your why is. So in the chat box, if you're actually able to share some of that, that would be something that we can speak to as we continue on. So take a moment, take some time to share what it is that your why is, and we'll make sure to bring it up as we continue on. So these are some of the things that we're going to cover today. Ibrahima touched on some of them. Think like an entrepreneur, establishing a foundation for business growth, developing agility and resilience, which again really is going to help you as you forge forward, putting people first, and then keep pushing, continuing on, continuing to strive. So let's get into think like an entrepreneur. So a great business needs a great leader. With the right mindset, you can be that leader. And so here, I like to really talk through the importance of understanding that without you as the foundation, the business will falter. And even with you as the foundation, the business will determine which direction it's going to go because you are the leader. And contrary to popular belief, your mindset, whether it's verbalized or not, is really going to dictate the direction in which your business actually takes. So ensuring that you have the type of mindset that a leader needs to have, as well as the type of mindset that you want your team to have, is vital to ensure that not only you as a leader can move the business the way you want to go, but also ensure that those that are following behind you, right, have that same mindset and are able to move the business forward, whether you're there or not. Because a lot of CEOs, a lot of business owners, they're doing everything within the business. But a great business leader, right, not somebody that just does everything, right, an operations person, but a great business leader is able to have other people that they can impart in through their leadership to lead the business forward. And this will free you up as a business owner to be able to do other things, whether it's business development or really just focusing in on the vision and the mission of the company. So the first concept surrounding that is the flywheel. So by a show of hands, hopefully I can see hands, but if you're able to raise your hand, has anybody heard of the flywheel concept as it pertains to business? So there is a flywheel at the center of your business. So I'd love to see if there are any hands that can go up. And if not, that is perfectly fine. All righty, fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to get into the flywheel. The flywheel concept is, at first, it's very heavy and slow, but with every turn, it spins faster. And that's what we call momentum. It's up to you as the leader to give your business the push that it needs. It's the same type of concept as far as like the snowball, right? But with the flywheel, what's great is that, again, it's heavy and slow and it's hard in the beginning. And I know all of us as business owners have probably experienced that. But once you have the right mechanisms in place and then you put that thrust into it, eventually it'll spin on its own and take care of itself. And the beautiful thing within that is that no single action results in success. It really is the little things. It really is the continual pushes that add up to make that bigger success even more possible. And sometimes what will happen even within the flywheel concept is a lot of times people think, oh, that's just in the beginning of my business. That's just when I start, making sure that I have my business plan and all of these things. And that's true. It's very important to gain that momentum in the beginning. But as your business shifts and as you need to pivot and maybe things need to be changed, you might be back in that same situation where you need to start pushing again, or maybe the brunt and the force of what it is that you've built is a little heavy. So it needs more push. It needs to some more momentum as you continue to push. So it's those little things, again, that add up along the way that will continue to have success that you need. This is another big concept too surrounding business ownership and having a successful business is the fox knows many things, but the hedgehog knows one big thing. I'd love to, again, when we get to the Q&A part, know how many people have heard this ancient proverb, the fox knows many things, but the hedgehog knows one big thing. And what this really speaks to is that a lot of times business owners, like I mentioned before, they're wanting to do everything. They want to sort of be everywhere, right? Have their hands in everything. But the hedgehog, they know one big thing, and they're really, really good at that one big thing. And with business owners, it's so important that you get good at the thing that you're good at. And like we talked about before, it's your leadership, right? It's being able to lead a team. And then within that, surrounding yourself with other hedgehogs, other people that are really good at what they do. So building out that team is going to be vital vitally important as you build your business. You know, let's say it's time for you to make a marketing push, right? You're going to want to have, and you know a little bit about marketing, you don't know everything, right? But if you're able to sort of lean on somebody else, whether it's in hiring an employee or hiring a consultant, or maybe leaning on somebody that is really good on advertising and marketing, that's a friend that's willing to lend their knowledge and their skill to your business, delegate it to them, right? If you understand them and they understand you and the direction you're looking to go, that makes a huge difference, and it won't burn you out. And again, it frees you up to really do those things that you as a leader needs to focus on. Same thing with your financials. You definitely want to understand the ins and outs and where your money is going, and where you want to grow and what you need to do to get there. Those are some other things that we talk through, but being able to have somebody that can own it. So a CFO, whether they're hired within the company or it's somebody that you work with on the outside. So surrounding yourself with those hedgehogs, right, to utilize this example, is really going to continue to help you to move forward in your business, and again, not get burned out, and build that foundation that will last to take you to the next level. So the next thing I want to jump into is for you to ask yourself the question, do you believe you can grow as a person? Do you believe you can grow as a person? So I'm going to pause, think about it, take a moment. Do you believe you can grow as a person? And this question is very important, because if the answer is no, right, where you are right now is as far as you're going to be. However, if the question is yes, I definitely can grow as a person, right? Where you not are now is not the limitation, right? It opens you up to so many doors. And it really speaks about the difference between a fixed mindset, which holds people back, compared to a growth mindset, which makes more possible. So being able to have the perspective and foundation that, hey, you know what? I'm going to grow as a person. Hey, I'm going to make mistakes. Hey, I don't know everything. I really need to lean in or want to lean in, or I'm willing to learn from others. That will ensure that you can continue to grow as you go along. Really quick story. There was a client that I was meeting with. They had a law practice and they were just desperate to grow. Like they really wanted to generate more revenue. And they sat with me and they said, Jamoke, you know, we really want to grow. So we had a conversation, right? Talked a little bit about what their goals are and had a whole list of suggestions. But every suggestion, they were like, nah, we don't want to do that. Nah, that's not for us. And, you know, at the end of the conversation, I said, you know what? It really sounds like you're sort of set in your ways, right? You know what it is that you want. You know what it is that you want to do. And, you know, to be honest with you, because I'm here to help, I'm here to support, and definitely no offense to this at all. But to be honest with you, if you're not willing to change, right, you're going to continue to get the same things over and over and over again. And that really speaks to somebody that has a fixed mindset. Versus on the contrast, if they had a growth mindset and were open-minded to new ideas, open-minded to shifting, then they might have been able to reach the goals that they had set for themselves, right? And to be able to leverage the fact that they called us in to help them. So again, a growth mindset, believing you can grow as a person, is a vital foundation surrounding taking your business to the next level. So these are some personal growth thoughts, right, that can lead to business growth. Embracing challenges, persisting in the face of setbacks, view effort as a path to mastery. A lot of times people might not want to try something because they're afraid of failing, or, man, I've never done that before. But really that afraid of failing. But failure is not a bad thing, right? It just means you haven't mastered it yet. And you can try again and again and again and again. So viewing effort as a path to mastery, I think, is very important. Learning from criticism, This one is fantastic too, especially if it's constructive criticism. And you can get that constructive criticism. One place that I absolutely think is great to get it from is from your clients. So if there are surveys or things that you can utilize to sort of gauge, well, what's the experience that you're having as a client? And they're willing to give you honest feedback, right? Not all the niceties of this is great, that is great, but really to dig in, if it truly exists, some constructive criticism, it can truly make a change in your business for the better, and it can and attract a lot more people. The next thing would be look for lessons and inspiration in others. So those are some things that you want to focus on surrounding growing and embracing change for yourself. The other concept is surrounding grit. So grit is not something that we typically talk about, you know, and if you're in conversation with somebody, they're 9 times out of 10 not going to bring up grit. But all of what we're talking about really adds up to grit. You've got grit already, right? You have that stick-to-itiveness. You have that fortitude. You have that desire to want to push, or else you wouldn't even be here. You probably wouldn't have been in business, right? And I know each and every one of us have things that we have overcome as well, and just in our lives in general, which all of that, again, adds up to grit, with the growth mindset, with honing in on those skills that really are your own. And now it's time to just channel all of that into your business so that your business can go to the next level. So a quick poll. Again, I can't see hands and hear everybody, but this poll, if you can just remember this in your mind, because I'm going to go back to it. But which entrepreneurial concepts resonate most with you? And you can select as many as you want, whether it be finding your why, the flywheel, which we talked about, the hedgehog principle, a growth mindset, grit. So just take a moment to really choose the concepts that resonate with you. And as you choose those, dig into it, right? If it's a growth mindset, and perhaps you don't have a growth mindset, or maybe there's areas in which you can have that growth mindset perspective, really dig into that. Ask the difficult questions, confide in somebody that can be honest with you surrounding that. Let's say it is the hedgehog principle, and you're the one that's doing, everything, but now you need to focus on that one thing. What is that one thing that you need to focus on? How can you round out your team so that you have others around you that specialize in particular areas? Or maybe you just need to hone in on your why. Maybe when you started your business, you were at a particular place and there was a particular reason. But as you continued to grow, you said, you know what? My why has changed. So maybe you need to fine tune it. So definitely, outside of this, make sure you take the time to really dive into one of these, because it will make the difference in your business. Knowing your purpose, why does your business do what it does, also speaks to the why. And in your workbook, there are a lot of different exercises that you can avail yourself of to help you in this next process that we're going to talk through. Why does your business do what it does? Knowing your purpose. So the first is the worksheet surrounding purpose, mission, and vision. And just for the sake of time, like typically if we have a longer session and it's, maybe a smaller group, we would take some time, around 20, 25 minutes, just to really go into this and hone in on your purpose. But I encourage you, for homework, or if you want to call it field work, to take the time and really write in your workbook surrounding this particular piece. One cool thing and cool feature about the workbook is you don't have to necessarily print it to write into it. It also doubles as a PDF, so you can actually write in the white space and save it to your files and have it for something that you use continually. The next would be defining your mission. So how does your business do what it does? And a lot of these concepts are things that you probably, when you started your business, when people spoke to you about writing a business plan, these are some of the things that they talked through. And even if you're been in business for a while, like I've mentioned before, it's always good to go back and take another look at this, right? Is my mission the same? Is my vision the same? You know, is my why the same, like I had mentioned before? Do I need to take another look back at it and really define what it is that I want to do? What is your mission? Write it down. And then capture your vision. What big change do you want your business to spark? So, what is going to be the difference maker that your business actually makes in society, right? What's going to differentiate you from another company? So, you want to capture your vision. Again, what big change do you want your business to spark? And there's also a worksheet surrounding that, again, diving into the mission as well as the vision. These are some tips for writing out the purpose, mission, and vision. Definitely want to get it on paper. It's one thing to have the idea in your mind. It's a whole other concept when you actually write it down on paper. Focus on big ideas. You want it to evoke emotion within you that really speaks to your passion. Imagine the future. Be concise and get input. So outside of yourself, getting input from others can really help those that you trust, maybe trusted advisors, whether they be business partners or not, trusted advisors, get input from individuals. And even you can get input from those that you are looking to serve, right? Because these are the people that you're going to want to touch or impact. So what are some of the things that they actually need? Well, what about profit? So we talked a lot about big ideas and writing missions and visions and all of that stuff, but where does profit fit in, right? Because you're in business to make a profit, right? You're in business to actually generate income, whether it be for yourself if you're a sole proprietor or a single member LLC, or perhaps it's if you're a larger corporation, right? Or a larger LLC with multiple partners and you have employees. It's not just about you. So you're looking to generate profit so that you can actually help others as well to be able to make income. So where does the profit fit in? Your vision isn't possible without the profit. Profitability fuels the growth, right? So you can write your mission, write your vision, have these great ideas. The business plan is on point and impeccable, but the vision is impossible without profit, right? You can't actually move the company forward without that profit and that profitability, which will fuel the growth. Also, profit can help you focus on really what matters. Going back to another example, I was speaking to a business owner, and they were doing really well. They didn't necessarily have an issue surrounding business development, but they were stretched to capacity, and they did not have enough profitability to be able to hire some other people to expand. And so I said, well, what are some of the areas of revenue that bring in the most revenue? Perhaps you can hone in on those things and really focus on those things that matter. Focus on those areas that make the profitability that you really need to see. And as they made those adjustments, they became more profitable. They weren't as stretched as they had been before. And then they were able to really grow and to scale the way in which they wanted to. So again, keeping profit top of mind is important. And there is a homework or field work, if you want to call it, I can help you, again, surrounding honing in on those ideas, which is a SWOT analysis. Not sure how many people are familiar with a SWOT analysis, but it goes through strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, whether they be external or internal within your business. So going through this exercise will really help you. There are some businesses that decide to outsource this and they don't necessarily go through the exercise, but I encourage and implore each and every one of you to go through it yourself, because it'll give you insight to your business and even insight as to where it is that you are as a company in the marketplace as you dive deep into these areas. And of course, you could bring somebody else in, but you doing this exercise yourself will give you tons of insight surrounding your company. So now let's get into part 2, establish a foundation for business growth. So the business structure is important. And I talked a little bit about in my example, mentioning LLC, S Corp, sole proprietor. But business structure is important from a liability perspective, from a flexibility, control, as well as funding perspective. So sole proprietorship, depending on where you are in business, some of you might be familiar with all of these, but it's a single owner, simple low cost setup, complete control, personal liability. You must pay payroll taxes, but can deduct expenses. So these are some of the things that delineate or denote a sole proprietorship. A partnership, multiple owners, simple low cost setup, shared control, partners personally liable, must pay payroll taxes but cannot deduct expenses. So this speaks to what a partnership would look like. C corporation can have multiple shareholders. Setup can be complex and will require the help of professionals. And with all of these that I'm talking through, it's important for you to speak with an attorney or even your accountant or the two to really determine what's best for you. Some businesses do decide to shift, right? So you might start as a single member LLC or a sole proprietor, but at a certain point in time, it might make sense to become a C Corp or an S Corp. Owners, again, with a C Corp are not personally liable, potential for double taxation. So these are some things to keep in mind. The S Corp can have multiple shareholders. Again, board of directors controls the company. Owners are not personally liable, no corporate taxes, profits pass through as distributions. So this, again, is very high level on giving you an understanding surrounding the different types of business structures, which again, you can adjust as you're continuing to grow in business. Limited liability company. This is one of the ones that I see a lot of. Owners are protected from liability. There's no limits on shareholders. Earnings are passed on directly to the owners. LLC owners can fully participate in the business. So again, a lot of companies I've seen that are sole proprietorships actually transition to a limited liability company next in their next iteration, but they've taken the time to speak with an accountant or an attorney to ensure that they're making the right switch from a liabilities perspective, as well as from a tax perspective and other implications. And then the next one is a B corporation. And this is sort of unique. Not sure how many people have heard of a B corporation, but any business structure can certify as a B corporation. And it's really just your public commitment to do good for people, communities, and the environment. And it's not just, a stamp saying, yes, I'm doing my part, but it actually will open you up to a lot of other opportunities. And this sort of is something that I discuss when we talk about the certification process. So there's some businesses that have, whether they have a nonprofit arm or some businesses that just do a lot in the community and they don't have necessarily a 501c arm, they don't understand that they can be a B corporation, and that will actually make an impact in perhaps opening opportunities or opening doors for you, perhaps with contracts and different things within your local community. Your workbook on page 17 will help you to sort of walk through which one would be best for me. So I encourage you to take some time and take a look at that and go through it at your leisure. The other thing that's important is to streamline your operations. So when your operations run steady, it's easier to push the flywheel. So again, going back to that concept, just imagine a wheel on a car, right? If we can envision that, let's say it's not, maybe it has something sticking out, or it's a little jagged and there's something wrong with the tire, right? It's not going to run as efficiently and easily as it could if it was set up properly. So it's the same thing with the operations in your business. You want to make sure that it's a very good streamlined process. You want to find the right space. You want to establish a customer support system, develop a file storage and sharing system, manage the books, schedule effectively, plan for taxes. I'm going to hone in on one of these things, and it's really surrounding the managing of the books. In one of the other seminars that I do, we sort of talk through some great examples of businesses that have done phenomenally well, right? They're profitable, but they're on the brink of going out of business. And you would think, okay, how can I be profitable, but I'm on the brink of going out of business? And one of the reasons is because of the management of the books, right? The system has not been streamlined properly. The system has not been put together in a way that will really speak to continued profitability, continued growth within the business. The other thing too is surrounding your customer, right? So I have another client that I worked with where they actually had a fantastic product, right? Everybody wanted this product. And during the pandemic, they actually surged, which was in some industries, it did happen, where others it might not have, but fantastic. But when clients got to the end of the process, everything sort of fell apart. So the system that was put in place to support these clients did not speak to everything else that they offered. So the marketing was on point, they got the clients, everybody was happy, but then the system broke apart. So it's important to ensure that you have the right systems in place so that your clients are happy and they will continue, right, to refer business and to continue to come back to you. The other thing too is to find your roadmap. So map processes and workflows. Start by taking inventory of every aspect of your business and the steps to complete each and every activity. So with this, like that example I mentioned, we found the place of breakdown and we're able to fix it. Sometimes we put things in place and we set it and forget it. Just like when we do the business plan in the beginning, but we don't come back to it. Just like when we do the SWOT analysis in the beginning, but we don't come back to it. We have to be able to pivot within our business to service whatever is required or needed at the time and maybe make adjustments. So for example, perhaps you started and you only had 10 clients, right? But now you've ballooned and you've grown and now you have 50 clients that you're servicing. So those systems and that workflow that was put in place before, it might not be able to support those 50 clients. So making those adjustments will really help to continue to make that flywheel very streamlined, right? To continue to have your business grow and to thrive. Again, as I'd mentioned, analyzing your processes, using data to make some of those changes. There's something that also that we talk about in speaking about data surrounding navigating your cash flow. So surrounding how to capture and understand what's going on with your money. That's one of those data points that you want to understand to where, you know, when I put these numbers in, is there a certain time of year where I don't have as much clients, right? As many clients. And perhaps I need to fill in with a more robust savings, or maybe I need to look into having a line of credit. So that data, right, will really help you in meeting those goals that you have. On page 21 of your workbook, again, this is something else that will help you to get that holistic view of your business and really hone in on the areas that perhaps you need to make some adjustments, streamline. Please do the homework. It's one thing to come and gain education and knowledge and sit in and maybe get some of your questions answered. But until you actually sit and you do that work yourself, which makes a difference, it doesn't necessarily sink in, right? Because I'm doing a lot of speaking, I'm doing a lot of talking, you guys are listening, right? But when you do it yourself, it makes a huge difference and it really sinks in. And you know your business better than I do. So you know the areas to focus on and where not to focus on. So let's go to part 3. This is one of my favorite parts that I like to talk about, which is developing agility and resilience. So we've all seen how important it is to build a business that can adapt quickly. We've all experienced, you know, the brunt of COVID and having to sort of pivot and make shifts. And that doesn't necessarily just pertain to times of pandemic, right, which does not happen all the time, but economic downturns or things that adjust in the marketplace. So it's important to be able to adapt quickly. Even your clients, your customers might have adjustments that they've made as to how they purchase or what they're interested in. So being able to adapt to that can really make a difference within your business. A quick poll: what is your top priority right now for making your business more agile and resilient? Would it be building a bigger cash buffer? Would it be securing new capital, improving cybersecurity, finding new customers, investing in tools and equipment to meet future needs, which again is very, very good and important. You're thinking about the future, strengthening business relationships. So maybe building out that team of trusted advisors, rounding out the team, your hedgehogs, as I had talked about before, that are there by your side to really help take you to the next level. So what area really sticks out to you as a top priority? All right, so I clicked on the Q&A real quick, and I think someone was looking for a workbook. So we actually shared the workbook in the chat. So if you go to the start of the chat, I believe you would see the workbook in there. So hopefully that helps. So you can click on the link and download that. So this right here, when I saw this statistic from 2021 Business Leaders Outlook Survey, I was shocked. 33% of businesses say saving more cash for a buffer is a top priority. And the reason, there's two reasons I was shocked. One is when I talk with business owners, many don't even have a 15-day cash buffer. 15-day cash buffer, let alone being in a situation with the pandemic or something along those lines that really impede or impair being able to do business is staggering. But 33%, that's a very low number. So it spoke to me that people need to, or there's an opportunity to understand the importance of a cash buffer and why to have it. It's almost like on the personal side, you think through having an emergency fund or 3 to 6 months set aside in savings, right? Or again, for emergencies. So that foundation you build on the personal side for your personal, those concepts, right? Those mindsets and mentalities can actually spill over into your business. And I've noticed that those businesses that do, when they get profit in and set aside money in their savings, have been able to not only pivot in times of crisis, right, but also they look into their account and they've adopted this practice over time and they see, oh my goodness, wow, I have enough for a down payment so I can move into a building that now I'm interested in moving into. Or now I'm looking to get a new piece of equipment so I can take my business to the next level. Or now I actually have enough set aside so I can hire that additional person that can really help bring my business to the next level from a business development perspective, or being able to do the inner workings of my company so that I can go out and do the business development. So this cash buffer doesn't only speak to those times of crises, but it can also speak to how to grow and really scale your business without necessarily always having to borrow. Investing in technology is definitely something that's important. There's so many tools and resources. I know a lot of people utilize QuickBooks. There's so many other things out there. Within Chase, we have a lot of systems that come within your business banking account that you can use surrounding cybersecurity and things like that. You definitely want to take a look at the type of business that you have and then determine what types of technology can help to safeguard from a cybersecurity perspective, take my business to the next level. What are some of my competitors doing and how can I sort of do a little bit more on the technology front? So where is technology going in my industry? So taking it to that next level can really help you as you continue to grow within your business. This workbook on page 23 will help you to sort of think through this process. You want to, again, like I'd mentioned, cyber threats. So you want to make sure that you do protect yourself, because it's a real thing. I remember when I first started working in the financial industry, it was a big thing, you know, but I would speak to business owners about check fraud and different things like that. And it's like, nah, I don't need those systems, even though they're complementary, right? I don't need those things in place until it actually happens to you. And sometimes you don't always get that money back, right? I've had situations where clients were so used to dealing with somebody via email that the other person's email got hacked. They sent a fraudulent email with different routing number and account number instructions, and that company just sent the money over, right? Because everything looked fine, everything seemed fine, and that money was gone. So it's important to, not only on the financial side, but also even with your intellectual property, to protect your inner workings and your business. These are some essentials. Of course, educate and train. So we do offer some cybersecurity training that you can go through. And there are many different platforms and organizations where you can avail yourself of that. Pay, again, special attention to the emails that I mentioned. Review payment procedures, again, with that email. So one of the things that I had recommended for the company to do, and it was, unfortunately, it was more than one that this happened to that I've worked with, even though we talked about the cybersecurity. One of the things that's good to institute is a phone call, right? So before that money actually goes out, to confirm it, that you're sending it to the right people, calling that phone number. Strong passwords, constantly changing your passwords. Plan for worst case scenarios. So there's a lot of different things you can do. So again, this is just for your edification. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your cybersecurity at the business? Would it be low? Would it be high on a scale of 1 to 10? So if you're at a 4, you know, working on moving it up 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? If you're at a 9 or a 10, that's fantastic. Is there anything else that you can do? If you're at a 1, maybe you haven't thought about it. And this right now is a conversation that's starting that thought process in your mind. And you, being a business owner that has a growth mindset, is willing to, you know, maybe make some changes to move the needle. It's definitely never too late. So think through this for yourself. Digital banking, as I'd mentioned before, with some of the tools and resources that we have, monitoring your accounts with notifications. So very simple little things you can do, getting data on customers and cash flow. We do have this really great cash flow tool that we talk about in one of our other workbooks for surrounding navigating cash flow, which is fantastic. Integrate with accounting software. And the what I'm mentioning with the cash flow, you can actually access it whether you're a Chase customer or not. It's chase.com/cash flow analysis if it's something that you're interested in. Use a credit card to manage cash flow. That's another thing that's fantastic. A lot of times people think that, oh man, I need a loan or I need to use my line of credit. But if it's something that perhaps you can pay on a credit card, but you know you're going to be able to pay it back within that 60-day float, that's something that's really good, because once you use the card, right, then you get the bill, and then it's typically owed in 30 days from there. So using credit card to manage cash flow is also very good. Taking your business online. I've mentioned this before about, you know, knowing where your customers are, platforms. What kinds of platforms do you need? You know, with social media, sometimes people think, oh man, I need to be on every single platform, but maybe this one particular platform, like a TikTok, is better for this type of business versus a LinkedIn, which more for professional services. Maybe that's another platform. So you don't necessarily have to be everywhere, but understanding where your customers are, making sure that the payment process is very easy. It's easy for them to understand, you know, listing out your products and your services, because I know we've probably all experienced where we go somewhere, we go to a website, we're excited, we're trying to engage, and it's very hard to understand, okay, what do they do? How do I interact? What's going on? So outside of just you viewing your site, having somebody else take a look at it can really help you as you're taking your business online if it's not online already. All right, so now let's get into part 4 as we come to a close, and it's putting people first. Putting people first. And when I say people, it's a lot of different types of people. So the first is the team, right? We talked a little bit about the hedgehog, right? Surrounding yourself with hedgehogs, but assembling a team of doers. You want to look for those that have a great work ethic or work ethic very similar to you, have a vision, not only that they understand your vision and understand where the company is going, but they also have a vision for themselves individually, right? Maybe there's some things that they actually want to accomplish. There's some things that they want to do, and they see working for you as a great place to start or help to get them to the next level. Collaboration, so people that are very collaborative. Diversity, people who make up for your weaknesses. Again, that hedgehog principle. People who are hungry to succeed. So these are some of the things that you want to look at as you're building and assembling your team. And the beautiful thing with team is that, especially within the this hybrid way in which business is being grown, is it doesn't necessarily have to just be employees. These can be consultants. These could be people maybe you work with on a short-term basis, right? Maybe 3 months, right? Because of a particular project. But even within that, you want to ensure that they have some of these qualities, right? And characteristics, and they really work with the energy and work with the culture that you've built as the leader within your business. That'll really help with this collaboration piece. The other thing is building an attractive workplace. So most people are looking for more than just a paycheck these days, right? Of course, just like we're in business to make a profit and generate income and take care of our families and do other things and have fun in our lives. It's the same thing, with employees as well as consultants that you might hire. It's more than just a paycheck, right? You want to get that paycheck, but what about other things that you can offer, whether it be a 401k plan? And I know a lot of states are starting to have it where there needs to be some type of retirement plan, depending on how many employees that you have, that you put in place within your workplace. But that attracts a different type of person. Health insurance, that also attracts a different type of person. And there's a lot of services and companies out there that will provide this at a pretty good cost, right? So it's not going to break the bank, but it can really differentiate you in the marketplace as you're trying to attract people. And right now, there's a lot of companies that are really looking for good people. So there's a lot of competition out there. So it's almost like an employee market, right? That's out there to be able to sort of pick and choose. So being able to differentiate yourself will really help you to attract that talent that we talked about before. So I'm going to actually skip over this just because we're not chatting, but working with professionals, like I'd mentioned, building out your team, CPAs, attorneys, bankers, marketing professionals, IT services, and others, can really help to grow your business and take it to the next level. And the other thing too that's nice within working with professionals is, like I'd mentioned before, it does not have to be forever, right? It could be short-lived. It could be maybe a year-long project. It could be a 6-month project, depending on what the goals are and what you're trying to accomplish. It could be intermittent, right? So just thinking out of the box as to how to get those types of people that you need within your business to make it, to help it to get to the next level. Connecting with influencers. And so this day and age, when we think of influencers, a lot of times our minds go straight to like social media and LinkedIn and influencers on YouTube and things like that. But, there can be influencers that are just the person that you see on the train every single day, or the person perhaps that you say hi to always in the grocery store whenever you go there. these people actually can be influencers for you, right? As you get to know them and understand, they might be able to open a door, a networking door, because you don't know sometimes who you're sitting next to. In a really quick story, I was speaking with a colleague here, and she actually happened to, so actually, let me back up. I was speaking to a client. They had wanted to meet somebody that's sort of high up within JP Morgan, and I did not know, even though I work here, I'm like, I don't know how I'd be able to necessarily connect them and then connect you with them and all of that stuff. So I was talking with another colleague, and not even about, this person wanting to meet somebody, and in conversation, literally just getting to know them. She had mentioned that she knew this particular individual. And I said, really? I never would have guessed that. And, I mentioned it to her, and I said, hey, so and so is trying to meet this person. This is what they do. And basically there were some synergies. So, but this just came from this random conversation of and my desire and her desire of wanting to network. So that was an influencer. So think through influencers around you outside of the traditional norm. What are some other influencers that you can actually connect with? Mutual benefit, to open doors for yourself, as well as you being able to open doors for others. Certifying your business is another piece of the puzzle that I started talking about when I was mentioning with the B corporations, right? Those companies that do things within the community or are environmentally conscious. Certifying your business as a minority-owned business, a women-owned business, veteran-owned business. If you are disabled, there's a lot of different certifications that open up contracts, whether it be government or working with a corporation. And the thing, especially in this climate today, businesses and governments are looking to work with companies that are certified. And 10% of the companies out there are currently certified. So there's a huge opportunity, because there's literally billions of dollars, and not millions, but there's literally billions of dollars available where they're setting that aside and wanting to work with businesses that have certain certifications. So going through that process can definitely help you and differentiate you from your competition. So last but not least, as we come to a close, and definitely we're going to open it up for some questions, is part 5, keep pushing. And that really, again, just speaks to, how do I move forward? So, and I mentioned some of these concepts as I was talking. So updating your business plan, update your executive summary within that, reconsider your competitive landscape. I touched on that a little bit. Describe your legal structure and even why your structure looks that particular way. Reimagine your strategies for marketing and selling to your customers. Really take some time to survey your clients if you can. Or even on social media, people utilize that to talk about good things and talk about things that aren't so good. So really digging into that, that's definitely something that we do here at Chase, is very big on client experience and ensuring that the tools and the resources that we do put out for our clients are actually working the way that they need it to work. And if not, we always have an open ear. There's always a survey going out, and we're always listening to make adjustments. And that's actually how our online banking has made adjustments and changes, as well as the way in which we do business. So it's definitely something that can take your business to the next level. And again, a last admonishment, you and your business are worth the investment. So you want to ensure that you continue to push through the adversity, through the setbacks, having that resilience, having that agility to pivot, willing to have that growth mindset where, okay, this is what I wanted to do before, but now I see the marketplace is changing, so I'm willing to shift. I'm willing to learn something new. because you're definitely worth it, right? You as an individual are worth it. You started a business for a reason, and you're worth that investment. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Ibrahima, to facilitate questions. But I've definitely enjoyed my time here with you all today. Hopefully you're able to take a little bit away, something new that you perhaps learned, but open for questions at this point.
Well, thank you very much, Jamoke, for such a thorough and comprehensive overview here on Business 201. I think each of the areas that we had shared that you would be covering, you thoroughly provided information. I did want to launch a couple of those polls when you were presenting, but no worries.
Oh,
Certainly save
sorry.
that for next time. No worries, no worries. So we do have some questions that have been submitted. So first question here is, how would you recommend finding a good or reputable bookkeeper CPA?
That is a fantastic question. So what I would recommend is, first of all, having the mentality that, you know what, I'm going to be interviewing you. I'm going to be interviewing some people. And so I do have like a network of individuals that I could refer over, perhaps for you to interview. I know organizations like a LISC or others actually have CPAs, bookkeepers, that they can refer over, but having that mentality where you're going to interview them, right? It's not like, oh man, I need you, but you're interviewing them. So really starting from that perspective, and then understanding what it is that you're looking for in these types of individuals. And, going through that interview process. Outside of that, asking friends and family is also good. Asking fellow business owners as well that those that they're happy with, right? So those would be some of the ways in which you can find a good and reputable bookkeeper, because people will say great things about great people, and people will also say, not so great things about, not so great people, right? So that speaks to the reputableness. But those would be that's my answer to that question.
Thank you, Jamoke. Another question we have here. You had mentioned about MWB certification. So there's a question here about it. How do you get certified?
Okay, so great question. That is it's a process. And so I will speak to what it is that we do internally. And there are many different ways in which you can go through that process. So let's say you want to, so when I work with people, we have a national partnership with the NMSDC, which helps with the minority certification. And then we also have a partnership with WeBank that helps with the Women Business Owner Certification, so WBE. And what we would do is we would connect, see where you are revenue-wise within your business, and then from that point, make a specific connection based on where it is that you are to somebody that you can work with one-on-one. Now, the certification process, we actually do a seminar surrounding certification and supplier diversity, but the certification process can take some time. And so if you know that you want to do, like, let's say the minority as well as women at the same time, that can actually help you, because a lot of the documentation is the same. So it would literally be either going to their website, or we could connect you specifically. I could connect you specifically with somebody to be able to start that process. I actually did that yesterday for somebody, and they reached out today to them to start the process. One thing I will admonish you on is that if you do have a physical place where you do business, they will do a site visit. So you're going to want to make sure that you're ready for that, and it's up to par with your business and sort of what it is that you want to present. So I could connect you with some people, if you want to just send me a quick note, or perhaps we can take your information down. Not sure exactly, Ibrahima, how you want to do that, but be happy to connect you with somebody.
No, absolutely. The individual that had submitted that question, I do see your name. So feel free to drop your email in the chat, and we'll certainly follow up, both connecting you with Jamoke. And just as a point of information, we do have a network of business development organizations spread across New York City that are specifically positioned to provide this level of technical assistance, whether it's related to MWB certification, whether it's related to support with, putting together your website or your marketing strategies. Again, send us your email, and we'll certainly follow up in making those appropriate connections. Jamoke, another question came in here, and just relating to the supplier diversity you had mentioned. I know during the presentation you mentioned that the government is ready to do business with a number of small businesses, particularly those that are minority and women owned. How about Chase? Is there any sort of efforts that Chase as a corporation in your corporate social responsibility or supply diversity efforts that you're looking to engage and do more business with BIPOC or, again, minority or women owned businesses?
Yes, so I'm so glad you asked that question. Whoever asked that question, great question and follow up. So a couple of things that we're doing. We have a group called Advancing Black Pathways, which is phenomenal. We have also Advancing Latinos, and we have a lot of different initiatives. But with Advancing Black Pathways, they actually started a program where if you are a minority business and you're wanting to get certified, we'll make that connection for you. And once you've gone through the certification process, you've passed it, you met the criteria that needed to be made, and you've paid for it, we'll actually go ahead and reimburse, right, that payment. So that's one of the programs that we have to really help that we're doing. And the other thing too within that is helping people to understand from an educational perspective outside of the government, but what do I need to do to scale up to be able to do business with like a Chase or to do business with like a larger corporation? Because that a lot of times is a whole other ball game. Because let's say you do get a contract, even if it's like with a Walmart or some other large business, you want to make sure you have the right infrastructure in place, right? And we talked a little bit about that, having your systems streamlined. So you want to make sure you have the right infrastructure in place so that when you get the yes, I want to do business with you, you can actually handle it and it's not going to break you. So that's the other thing that we do, which we sort of dive into with our one-on-one coaching. So that's something else that we do. The other piece, and there's a lot, so I'm not going to touch, it's not going to be exhaustive what I touch on, but it's a lot. The other thing that we do is we have a way and a link where you can register as a diverse supplier with Chase. So you can actually start the process, and that's something that I could send out as well. We do have a landing page where you can get some more information. One of the things as I work with people one-on-one is I'll go through some of the different types of vendors we're looking for. And a lot of times you wouldn't think, oh yeah, a bank would work with somebody like this. So I would go through that, get you into the system, or at least start you in that process so that you can get in there. So the education piece and making sure you have the infrastructure is the other thing that we help you with. And then the last thing I'll say is we also work with our other larger vendors, right? So we actually, and this was last year, I think it was in October, I can't remember exactly when, but last year we actually put a call or a charge out to those larger corporations that we do business with to actually say, hey, what are you doing with gaining other diverse suppliers within your business network? So we put that out there as well. And that actually has moved the needle also. So outside of just doing business with Chase, opening up the doors to do business with other larger companies, because it's not, we're not the end all be all. We don't have everything that maybe every business might offer, to be able to have a platform. So that's another thing that we did. And last thing I'll say is we also have a program there's so much, Ibrahima. So last thing I'll say, I promise, we have an internal system of just being able to support business owners. And so actually let me back up because there's a lot of pieces to it. There's if you go to Chase, I can't remember the landing page right now, but we had an initiative surrounding starting in Black History during Black History Month, but it continued on where it's if you Google like Chase buy Black, I think it'll come up. But we have some of our business owners and on that site, so you can actually do business with them. So it might not, I remember one that's on there, I think is surrounding skincare. So they're not necessarily a client, or I mean, they're a client of Chase, but they're not a vendor of ours, but providing them that opportunity. So that's something else that Chase is doing as well. So hopefully that gives you a diverse array of ways in which we're supporting.
That certainly was a thorough, again, response, and you certainly gave plenty of details of what Chase Business, or rather Chase in general, has planned for supplier, or rather diverse supplier engagement. So thank you for that. Another question we have here is, what talent service provider do you recommend for industrial graphic designers, estimators, and so on?
Okay, talent service provider.
So I'm assuming they're probably, what they mean by this is that they're a recruitment firm.
Okay, so they are a recruitment firm, or a recruitment firm to help them to find somebody, would you say?
Yes, this is, yeah. So the individual who submitted, if you can just clarify that question, it would be great. Whether you're a recruitment service provider, or if you're looking for recommendations on a platform for recruitment of those types of roles. In the interim, another question that we have here I received was, if a business is interested in reaching out directly to you for support, is that something that your team is able to provide support with, or is it mainly a referral to one of your partners?
That's another great question, and one of my favorite questions. So yes, you can definitely connect directly with myself, directly with our team. I believe my information I remember seeing it somewhere, but we can put it in the chat. And we would just set up a Zoom call initially, just to have a conversation surrounding what it is that you're looking for. And based on that conversation, we might engage in that one-on-one consultation, or if it makes sense based on the goals that you have to connect you with somebody within our network, then we'll do that. So it all depends, but we definitely have platforms for that. It's all complimentary. You don't even have to be a client of Chase. If you're in another state, I have colleagues in other states. So we're definitely open for business from that perspective, to be able to support you in any way that we can.
Got it. Okay. So based on my understanding here, they're looking for a recommendation on a platform, such as Indeed, that they can essentially be able to identify these types of talents.
I see. So, and I see, so you're industrial graphic designers, estimators, admin assistants. So that's a really good question. Indeed is good. All of those platforms are good. I know that depending on where you are within business and what you do for your payroll, some companies like ADP that you might work with, they have some really good HR, or not HR, but well, they do have HR services, but they have some really good services to help find talent. The other thing too is sort of like in answering, or what I talked about with the other question surrounding a CPA or a bookkeeper, is asking people within your network. A lot of times with the graphic design, let's say you do go to a particular website, or you are looking in a publication, they'll have their name or their information on the bottom if that's something that resonates with you. So that's something that you can also utilize as well. Trying to think. The other thing too is connecting with individuals or smaller agencies that really can work with you one-on-one. For example, I'm actually working with a business owner that has been in corporate HR and recruiting for umpteen years, and they wanted to start their own business, and so they did. And so now she's leveraging that skill. So it's a smaller boutique firm, but she's leveraging that skill to be able to help business owners. So taking that, everything that she learned in that corporate sector and being able to provide it to business owners. So there's a lot of ways that you can find it outside of the traditional. So hopefully that helps.
Excellent. Any other questions? Okay, going once. Okay, I think we should be all set. Jamoke, is there anything else that you'd like to share before we close out today's session?
No, I think this was great. Actually, there is one thing I will say. If you are, so I'm in the New York metropolitan area, servicing New Jersey, as well as Connecticut and just the surrounding area. I do have colleagues that are in this area as well. If you would want to connect with us, and you can use, I see Ibrahima, you put my information in there, so thank you so much. The other thing too, if you are in another state, I'll actually, if there's a way to put it in the chat, this will be great. And actually, I think I might be able to type it to everybody. Yes, I can. So chase.com/business consultant. And so I'm typing that in the chat because you can go to this landing page. Yep, go to this landing page, and you at the bottom of the page, well, close to the bottom of the page, there's a form you can fill out. And when you fill that form out, it'll actually go internally and then connect you with somebody like myself in another part of the country that you can speak with one-on-one. So that's another way. Or if there's somebody that you want to, you're saying, hey, I saw this webinar and they told me about this resource. It's complimentary. You don't even have to be a client of Chase. You can give them that landing page. You can give them my information. But I want to make sure that you have all of the resources in your hands. So that's the only thing I would add. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to work with you, Ibrahima, and your team. It's always a pleasure. I love LISC, so thank you so much and all that you do.
Thank you. Thank you for being one of our first presenters in the series of small business learning sessions. I want to be able to thank everyone who was able to join, the small businesses, our partners on the local level, my colleagues here at LISC, Emilio, Eva, Taylor, Leah, for all being able to join. And again, Jamoke, certainly do appreciate your time and your professionalism and all of the insight on this topic for today. So with that being said, I thank everyone. Again, this has been recorded. A copy of the presentation or recording will be shared with everyone afterwards. And we'll also be sending out a survey. So we would appreciate your feedback on your thoughts on today's session, what went well and what other topics you'd like to see. So again, thank you and have a good rest of your day.